Welcome back to Scotty and Motty's. I'm going to say smoking shed. Fucking hell.
This is all staying in, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fine. I'm here for the bloopers, mate. Crack on. Welcome to Scotty and Motty's channel. We're back again for our third video. I've been thinking me and Justin go back to the Trafford Centre call. Was it Trafford Centre?
I love this Justin business. It's so very formal.
We should call it like Scotty and Justin. We don't roll off the tongue as easy. I had this whole intro built up, and straight away, there's my chips, and you just pissed all over them. I was going to lead up into this romantic, timeline of where we've been.
Yeah, back in the days when that was what everyone called me. When we worked in a call centre, I used to, use that moniker. But no, you say it's our third video. No, it's your third video, because you went and did a video on your own, didn't you, little weasel?
Well, that's because you like sleeping too much and I'm proactive, Justin, and that's why we work well, yin and yang, brother.
Mate, sleeping is a distant memory for me. I tell you, 3 kids. Sorry, anyway, I interrupted you. Go on, what's this video all about?
Well, all right, so I was going about where we've come from and stuff. So where did we meet? Was at a call centre, wasn't it, in Old Trafford?
One cell. Customer service, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Jay speaking.
Pretty much the worst call centre people ever to ever exist. We met there and went to Crete, Copenhagen, the Copacabana. We went to Brazil as well. We go back a long way, don't we? Go back like chairs.
Go back like what?
Reading chairs? No.
Go back like Marty McFly.
We go back like Sadio Mane's hairline.
Like Dirty Dan.
We go back like Dominic Cummings to Durham.
Oh, very nice. Topical. I like it.
On our first show, we were talking about films and reviews, and we thought we'd put our heads on the guillotine and actually give you out there some of our top 5 to watch in lockdown. So we've got 5 each. Justin, Jay, Motty, do you want to go first?
Yes. Thank you, David Scott. I shall. We were just talking then before we started, and this isn't very original for my top 5 things to watch in lockdown. But my first one will be The Last Dance. Now, there's lots of things that have come up recently, like that people have been watching. There was Don't Fuck With Cats. There was Tiger King, and I think they're good to sort of watch at the time when everyone's talking about them. When you can I like to watch things like that and chat about it on social media and have a laugh, and they're all right. But once it's sort of been and gone, they're not the sort of things that I think you should bother with again. Or if you've not seen it, I wouldn't even bother with it now. But I think the Last Dance, which, get my words out, is the one I'm going to choose. It's something that doesn't matter if it was a year from now, whenever. It's a sports documentary that stands the test of time, and it's well worth a watch. If you've missed it, I know everyone's been talking about it, but if you haven't seen it, you should check it out, because if you don't know what it's about, it's 10 episodes and it covers the Bulls. Ostensibly, it's the final season, which they called, of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman at the Bulls, and the coach, Philip Jackson. They called it The Last Dance because they knew Philip Jackson was going to leave. They thought Michael Jordan was going to retire at the end of the season. So it was their last sort of season together and their last chance to win the NBA championship for that team for the 6th time. And it sort of flips back and forward. So it goes over the 6 seasons where they won the championship. It goes back to the childhood of Michael Jordan, of Philip Jackson, of Scottie Pippen, of the players I've mentioned, other players as well, Steve Kerr. It's just a fascinating, well-made documentary. Don't have to be a basketball fan. I'm not a basketball fan. I spoke about this in our first video. Don't know a lot about basketball. I admire Michael Jordan. I know what sort of a legend he is in the game, and one of those players that is sort of bigger than the sport that he's representing. But I wasn't a basketball fan by any stretch. But you don't need to be. If you're a sports fan, you can relate to it. I saw the conversations with what the Bulls were doing, what the coach there was doing, the drive that they had, the drive that Michael Jordan had. And with Manchester United, my team, the Sir Alex Ferguson, Roy Keane, Ronaldo, those types of players, and the manager who just had that desire and that will to win, and who broke the mold in many ways. And that's what the Bulls did. So it's worth checking out. And the good thing now as well is they released it every week. They do 2 episodes a week. Every Monday, 2 episodes will come out. So that's how they do it. But now all the episodes are out there on Netflix. So you can just, if you wanted to binge watch it over a weekend, you don't have to wait. You can watch sort of 1 to 10 in one sitting or whatever. And it's just, some of these things get overhyped and whatnot, but this isn't overhyped. It's as good as as good as everyone is saying, I loved it. I think it's just excellent. And it's had its critics. Some people saying, oh, because Michael Jordan was involved in making it, and I think he had editorial control. It hasn't been.
The producer, wasn't he, I think?
Yeah, you're right. So it hasn't been as critical of him on some parts of his personality, on some of his history that it could have been. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, Michael Jordan's pretty much the perfect athlete and sportsman in terms of his ability or whatever and talent. And okay, yes, he was very driven and he could be a little bit, I don't know if egotistical is the right word. I'd say he's been accused of being a little bit like a bully towards some of his teammates who he felt weren't performing. There's question marks about his gambling. There was question marks when there was I think there was a race for the Senate in his home state of North Carolina, and he didn't back the Democratic nominee, even though the Republican nominee was someone who was quite racist and right-wing and had said racist comments in the past. Michael Jordan famously said, well, Republicans buy sneakers too, because obviously he was, behind the Air Jordan brand. So they skirt over some issues where you think they could have gone a little bit deeper, but they still cover them. So it's not a complete, it's not the Michael Jordan story as written by Michael Jordan. There are parts of it where he's self-critical and he says, maybe, I could have done things a little bit differently, or I could have treated someone a little bit better or whatever. But with that aside, it's just fantastic. It's one of the best documentaries I've seen because as well, they've got the footage from the 90s. This is all from the 90s and stuff. Yeah. They were in the dressing room when these championships were being won. They've got access. They've got interviews from that time. This isn't just all in retrospect. They've actually got the contemporaneous interviews and footage as well. So it all fits together nicely. It's almost like you can say it is, it's what, 22 years in the making or whatever. So I can't recommend it enough. It's just forget you thought of, oh, I don't like basketball, because I thought that, but it doesn't matter. Just give it a go. It's one of them. There's like 10 episodes out there, so fill 10 hours if you're bored or you've not got children bouncing up and down off your head.
Yeah, I'll watch it 2 a.m. in the morning like I had to because
that's like me watching things that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is well worth a watch. Its biggest critics have probably been former players that weren't happy with how they've been perceived in the documentary, like Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant have sort of come out and countered how Jordan spoke about them and the footage that they put across. But yeah, it's a brilliant narrative throughout, and you don't need to be a basketball fan to watch it. Where do you place them watching that? Michael Jordan alongside the greatest sportsmen across different sports. So I was talking about this in a WhatsApp group the other day. So if you had like Jordan, Tiger Woods, Ronaldo, and Messi, if you can you possibly hierarchy based on that where you place him?
What, the greatest sportsman in all sports of all time?
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, we've got greats in sport, but I mean in football. Well, football has always been sort of a global sport. But if you look at where basketball was when Jordan took it, and it was more as much of his off-field brand, wasn't it, with the trainers, to where he turned the NBA into and stuff like that. I think they say at the end of the documentary, don't they, that it was in 100 countries and now it's in 205 following Jordan's input. But I'm just wondering where you would place Jordan on that sort of scale.
I think if I was to do a hierarchy of sports people, I'd probably put Muhammad Ali at the top.
Good shout.
Because he's bigger than the sport. I said Jordan's bigger than sport. Muhammad Ali is, he's bigger than boxing. He's bigger than sport. He's such a massive character and personality, and not just for his ability. He's regularly in the debate of the greatest of all time. I know he called himself the greatest of all time. Is he the best ever? It's debatable whether he is. Personally, I think he probably is. But more than that, we didn't see him at his peak. He refused to go in the war. He was outspoken about civil rights and things like that. He sacrificed his peak boxing career years because of his beliefs, and people buy into that and they get that and they get why he was so big and why he's so popular. And also the tragedy what happened to him as well. He wasn't well for years, and that was sort of so sad to see. But it not adds to the aura of him or anything. It just sort of it's one of the reasons I think why a lot of people love him so much. The lighting the flame in 1996 in Atlanta when he was obviously, well, you could see his hands were shaking. That was a really emotional moment for people like myself who weren't old enough to see him box. So for me, he'd be at the top. Michael Jordan, you could argue I'd maybe put him second. I know I'm a massive football fan, and I've said I'm not a basketball fan, but I've got to admit that when you talk about basketball, Air Jordan, yes, you can have your Kobe Bryants and your LeBron James and your Magic Johnsons, but he surpasses all of them. He's in a complete league of his own. And I think when you get to football, it's difficult because I think you've got a lot of players who are on a similar level. For me, Ronaldo, Messi, Maradona, Pele are all on a similar level in the sense that that you can argue, you can argue that any of them are the greatest ever. They've all won similar amount of trophies or similar important trophies. You know, Pele won 3 World Cups. Maradona won the World Cup and he won titles in Italy or whatever. Ronaldo's won the Champions League loads of times and the Euros as well. So it's difficult. I think for our era, if I keep it to that, I'd say Ronaldo's sort of reached the levels that others haven't. Just because I had this debate on, I think it was on Stretford Paddock the other week. I had to choose, or it might have been McCullough's channel, I can't remember. I chose Roy Keane as my most influential Premier League player, and someone was arguing about Ronaldo. And I think in terms of football now, Ronaldo has done things. This was the point they were making. You know, he's a global superstar. He's an Instagram star, Twitter, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. His followers have surpassed anything. And I think for the modern era, where social media is a big part of it, he's the one that's carried that forward. So just for that, not necessarily in terms of ability, but if you're going to look at, you know, the sort of world we live in, maybe he'd be third. He wouldn't be my person. You know, I'd probably put Eric Cantona above him because I think Eric Cantona changed football and did things on and off the pitch that had never been done before. And he's still doing so now, which we'll get to later. But I think that'd probably be the hierarchy I'd have, or the pecking order I'd have.
Yeah, because for me, I think the great thing there is that when you're comparing the likes of Muhammad Ali and let's say Cristiano Ronaldo today, is that Muhammad Ali was probably liked more when he retired from boxing, and I think it's the humane side of it, the humanity that you sort of see. And when stuff like when he was ill, you knew that he wasn't the superhero that he was in the ring, and he wasn't afraid to sort of show that side of him. You know, and I think it's the greater stories outside of the sport. And I think the problem that happens with today's sports heroes is that either they're too scared or shielded to actually put that side of them out there because it's so easy with trolls and social media to try and get hit down so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, no, what you mean. And this is what people forget, and I think this is a real important point. You know, there was a time when Muhammad Ali was hated.
Yeah,
not by like members of the black community and people that were struggling against civil rights or struggling in the fight for civil rights, but a lot of corporate America, a lot of just the general public in America, especially the white general public. He wouldn't go to Vietnam. People saw him as a draft dodger. He was willing to give up his title for that. Even a lot of boxing people didn't like that fact. You know, this guy is willing to not, you know, because he wouldn't have had to necessarily go and fight in the jungle. It was a principle thing. He could have, you know, just gone and signed up and done tours or whatever and speeches, and you know, it's highly unlikely they would have sent the heavyweight world champion to go and sit in the jungle and fire a gun. You know, they probably wouldn't have. But he refused to do that. So there was a lot of hatred and anger towards him in the late 60s. And then, you know, he had this sort of renaissance period and he changed the way he fought as well. Don't forget, he used to sort of dance around and he became someone who was willing to take punishment, rope-a-dope and all that stuff. But then, you know, in his late years, like you say, he wasn't well. And people had a revisionist theory on the Vietnam War anyway, in the sense that, okay, it was never a popular war and people didn't like it. But especially going into the 70s when people were like, this is horrible, this is terrible, these people shouldn't be fighting in it. And he's completely right to have done what he did. You know, it sort of made people realize that his principles were so big that he was willing to give up the greatest prize in sport to stand by him. And how many people would do that? Yeah. And not forgetting the commercial side of things as well. You know, that's like that's like Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, knowing full well that, probably not knowing full well, but having a sort of educated guess that's going to hurt his career in a big, big way.
Yeah.
To the point where he's not even got a professional contract. It's that sort of thing when you put your beliefs and your principles are so big that, you know, you're willing to sacrifice that, and he did, and I think that's why he transcends that sport for me, and he's so revered. He's one of those sports people that's just absolutely loved by people, like genuinely. There's a sort of feeling of just love for him, like beyond respect.
Without knowing anything about the sport either, it's like I could talk more about Muhammad Ali, and she wouldn't have a clue who he'd fought at all. You know, if it's his personality. I think George Best, I mean, obviously had a bit of a worse decline in the years, but he also had that sort of similar sort of aura around him. Not always for the greater good in the same respect as what Ali did. But yeah, and there's a great documentary on the Muhammad Ali when he fought the Vietnam prescription, but not conscription.
Yeah, conscription. Yeah.
Documentary on Sky a few years ago about that.
I've not seen it. I remember seeing an interview with him, and I think what happened first of all, he failed the test to get in. They gave him a test, and he failed the intelligence test. He's a very clever man, Muhammad Ali, but he wasn't necessarily academically smart.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I know it's not academia that gives you a test to get in the army, but for whatever reason, he said that it was things like, you know, if I had 100 apples and 70 apples were taken away, and then someone gave me 5 apples, how many apples would I have? It was questions like that, and he said he got confused and he got a load of them wrong. And then when they realised that it was ridiculous that the heavyweight world champion couldn't qualify for the army, they changed the test limit, so they lowered it so that his score was good enough. Which obviously, it's all about moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
But either way, he wasn't. I think this was around the time that he converted to Islam, and he wasn't having any of it. He wasn't going to do it. He famously said, you know, no Vietnam Kong ever called me the N-word, and he wouldn't have anything to do with it. So yeah, I think that sort of part of his career is an important part, arguably one of the most important parts, or the most important part, and it's worth checking out, because a lot of people just know Muhammad Ali is this great fighter, stood up for what he believed in, but don't know the nuts and bolts of it. So yeah, it's a good shout out.
Cool. We'll move on to my first choice. Right, my favourite genre of series or film, mafia related or crime related. I think either The Wire or Gomorrah are my favourite series. I often find myself having to delete previous tweets when I've preferred one over the other, and then I make it. You know what I mean? It's hard to choose between the two of them.
Yeah.
But I've been watching this thing I found on All 4 called The Mafia Only Kills in Summer. Have you heard of it?
No, but it sounds right up my street, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, so when I say to you Mafia series, what are you expecting?
And what am I expect when you say a Mafia series?
Yeah, what are you expecting?
Just absolute carnage, bloodshed. You know, I think my favourite review for Gomorrah was it makes The Godfather look like Gilbert and Sullivan. And I thought, yeah, that sums it up. Yeah, so lots of killing and, you know, that whole sort of family stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a complete contrast, and I thought it was quite a light change because Gomorrah is easily the heaviest watch. I've put a few friends into it in lockdown. I mean, I'm not going to put that in my top 5 today, but if you haven't watched it and you've got ample time now, you need to watch that series. But yeah, it's really dark. But this is the Mafia series. It's based around a family that have no mafia ties at all, but it's 1979 in Palermo, and it's just like a coming of age of this young boy. And the mafia sort of play on the outskirts of the family and the community, but it's how they reach into the business world and how they encroach on the everyday person's life. But the way it's shot, and it's more like a sort of family drama about this young kid who's in love with his teenage sweetheart, and then it's got his dad who can't he can't hold down a proper job, and he doesn't want to go to the mafia and stuff. But it's just such a fantastic watch, and especially because it offers that alternative view to it, because usually you get it from the mafia side, and usually going to get it like it's one gang versus another gang, and it just turned that was something that turned me off about The Sopranos towards later on in the series, is because it felt a lot like Rocky. Do you know what I mean? Each series was just like, right, who's Tony going up against next? Do you know what I mean? And it was just really refreshing to see a new angle. I've just finished the first season of that. It's got its dark moments, but it's got quite a light. It's got a bit of light comedy and all that. It's more like a drama rather than a crime thriller, I suppose. But yeah, so I definitely suggest that. It's on All 4. Mafia Only Kills in Summer. It has got subtitles.
I like that. I like the idea of having things as a backdrop rather than the main story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you're saying there, that the mafia is like a backdrop to this kid's life. I'm all into things like that. It dips in and out of that, and you know,
you can really get a sense of it in the community. It's like a sort of cancer that's lurking in the background, and everyone's talking about it, but nobody really wants to talk about it, or they make slight reference. And something I also forgot is that it's shot in 1979. You've got real footage of what was going on in Sicily during then, because I think around the late 70s, early 80s was Sicily's prime hold of mafia over Sicily. So you get people like Totorina who was taking over there, and you have like people acting him out, but actual news footage of what was going on at the same time. It's really clever the way they did it, and based on what you were saying last week about Rotten Tomatoes and checking reviews and shit like that, I actually looked up the stuff I'm going to refer to tonight, because I thought I'm not bringing any Danny Dyer numbers to the show. And I think it got like 7.9%. Is that right? 7.9 on IMDb.
Yeah, I'm Internet Movie Database. Yeah, I mean the good point, mate, thing about Rotten Tomatoes as well is, you know, I said this to you, it's flawed.
Yeah,
it is. You know, I think it's Dead Man's Shoes as a relatively average rating. That's one of the best films of all time. But no, going back to the show you chose then. So it's Mafia Only Kills in Summer, it's called,
Yep.
yeah?
Yep.
You know, I'm on the same page as you with the shows you like. Sopranos, Gomorrah is one of my favorite, even though I don't think I've seen past series 2 because I've changed my Sky package, so I didn't have access to it. But I need to get back on that. And also other series like The Wire and stuff like that. You tend to like what I like, and that's an interesting one. I'll have to give that a go if I manage to find any time. It's on all 4. Is that like free, all 4? Is it?
Yeah,
is that like
just log on there and then check out series. It's quite. I think it's called the package is called Walter Presents, and it's a lot of like foreign dramas and foreign films and stuff like that. There's usually quite a few good ones on there.
I don't mind a bit of subtitling anyway. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I was watching something the other day, and it was about Fellini film. Someone was saying they can never watch any foreign films because it distracts them from concentrating on the actors. Now, I've never had an issue regarding watching subtitles, but my dad, he won't watch anything with subtitles in at all.
My missus is the same, you know. She won't watch. She's the same.
Yeah.
She won't watch the subtitle film, which is, you know, let's just discount 90% of the films out there.
Yeah. Have you ever tried watching anything with dubbing though, like on Netflix?
Oh mate, not since when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to watch like Bruce Lee films, or whatever, and it was like, yeah, no, I'm not.
It makes the editing on Bruce Lee look absolutely like Oscar winning. Seriously, whoever's doing the dubbing on Netflix for foreign films needs to find a new.
You can't, man. Just read it. Just come on. It's not that difficult. So you know what I mean? Like, fair enough. I get it. Like, if it's a Fellini film, they're quite highbrow, but most of them, it's just like, you know, the action in it. You're not missing out on anything by reading. To
read a sentence, you can imagine some of the fingerprint on the TV.
It's like what's the one that won the Oscar? Is it Parasite this year?
Yeah, the Korean.
Yeah, and you're gonna say I'm not watching that because it's fucking subtitled. Yeah. just one of the first foreign films with Best Picture. Not interested, mate. I haven't got time to be reading when I'm watching film. I'm busy.
If I wanted to read a book, I'd read a book.
Yeah. Fuck that. Stick another Adam Sandler on.
Yeah, oh, fucking hell, don't start. Right, what's your next one?
Next one. Talking about films that stick a film on. This is on Netflix, called Extraction. Now, for starters, this isn't one that's going to sort of keep you awake at night and you're going to be thinking about it when you when you go to work the next day or whatever. It's one of those films that it's an action thriller. This sort of film has been done before. It's the sort of story of a soldier or a cop. We've seen it before, an ex-cop who has to protect a young boy or young kid, and they form a bond. You know, we've seen it in films like Mercury Rising, where, you know, Bruce Willis has to look after this lad with autism, and they become like, he becomes close to him, or Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, where he's protecting a little girl. And this is a similar sort of thing. It's Thor. Chris Hemsworth's in it. He's a soldier and he has to go and rescue this lad from Bangladesh. Now, the reason I chose is these aren't my sort of films. Genuinely, it's just an action film basically with a little bit of a plot to it, in the sense that he's protecting and rescuing this kid and then protecting him. And some of the plot twists you can see coming a mile away, and the dialogue, it's like dialogue we've heard a million times. But the reason I thought it's a really good film and worth watching anyway is it's set in Bangladesh. I'm not sure. I think they filmed it in Thailand. I might be wrong, but they had almost unlimited access to the city. So you've got these sort of set pieces, set scenes, action sequences even, that you just don't usually see nowadays, because with CGI and because with studios, and also, you know, most Hollywood films are set in America. They don't have that sort of thing where they'll go and film in the actual town or city they're filming it in. Here, they've been given almost carte blanche to just go, you know, blow up what you want and do what you want and film where you want. And the sequences in this are great. There's loads of long shots, loads of tracking shots, loads of shoot 'em ups and everything, and people dying. But I thought it was just really entertaining, sort of, you know, a film where sometimes you just want to sit in front of the telly, sit on the couch, and just watch 2 hours of cannon fodder for the brain. Not have to think too much. You know, almost the opposite of Fellini or something like that, where it's going to stay with you and you're going to think, oh, what did that mean? And what was the director trying to say? This is just Chris Hemsworth running around shooting loads of people. But it was entertaining. It was, and it's like I say, it's a little bit different because of its setting and the way they were able to film it. And you know, there is enough of a plot to keep you going. It isn't just nonsense. So it's just one of those where I thought a bit different. You know, we know everything's quite serious at the minute. If you just want to sit down and watch 2 hours of explosions, then yeah, it's a decent watch. It's Extraction. I think it's on Netflix. So don't be coming back at me going, well, I watched it and you know, it's not going to win any fucking Oscars, is it? I'm not saying it will. It's not, you know, this isn't highbrow, sort of intrinsically plotted, you know, Shakespearean type performances here. This is men running around with guns, but it's like an old school action thriller in that it's, you know, the action seems real rather than CGI and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, considering I'm not really into that sort of genre anymore, it was pretty entertaining, so it's worth watching.
It has become a case of the CGI, I think, in films. It's just overkill, and it dates really quickly. We were watching one of the Avengers, I think one of the early Avengers the other night, because the kids are into it. And between that and the last one, you can see how CGI's come on. And I just don't think these films with CGI in will date as well as something like you say in Extraction. If you look at the 90s blockbusters, I suppose you likes of Die Hard and stuff like that. Do you know? I think they'll age better in terms of the content or how it's shot because it has actually got CGI. So yeah, I quite like Chris Hemsworth as well.
Yeah, he's good. He sort of rises above that, just being a human special effects. You know what I mean? He's got a bit about him, and he's a decent actor. So yeah, he's good.
Yeah, cool. Right, my next one. I was quite fearful about watching this. I think it actually started. It came out the first week we went into lockdown because it combines football, and I've got some of my friends actually appear in the English Game. Have you seen it?
Right, to my sort of to my downfall, I've seen a little bit of it. I started watching it and then I got into it and then got distracted and I've not revisited it. And because other things have come in, I think I watched the first 4 episodes, was getting into it, and then haven't managed to get back into it. But I would like to, because I did enjoy it, and I know, like you say, it's, you know, it's quite real in it. It's like it is about how the football started, and it combines, like you said, you know, those elements.
Paid players came, and it's about a guy called Fergus who comes down to help one of the northern teams take the I think what was the FA Cup back in the Victorian age from the posh boys who would sort of run the rules all the time. So it's great in terms of a rag to riches story, but it's shot in. I just can't get down with any period dramas. I really struggled. See, if I literally watched them all back to back, because if I hadn't, then I don't think I would have dipped back in. And it's not down to the quality of the acting superb. I think the storyline's all right, but I don't know if it could have got, you know, if it could have been condensed into a film, maybe. I mean, you know them series that you could have done in 2 hours, and I think that would have been able to keep my attention. But just as a football nut, it was great just to see, you know, the early days. But period dramas, it's fucking grim. Do you know what I mean? If you not Downton Abbey, it's great if you're rich in a period drama. But you know, we'd be fucked, mate. You know, do you know what I mean? Back in the working class did not have it easy in their mills, and it's just I find period dramas more depressing than Gomorrah, just because of that. The class divide is so obvious. You know, nowadays where we can sort of lose ourselves in technology, and the divide between being rich and poor isn't so blatantly obvious, at least inside your own house. But back then, it's just it just makes me feel like fuck, I can't be arsed. And then you like Downton Abbey, and but it's nothing against the content of the show. But I really liked it, and I think it's testament to it how much I hate period dramas that I stuck through it from beginning to end. The football was fucking atrocious. I mean, you can tell some of them don't play football as professionals. But there's been worse football movies. But as a football fan, it's definitely something that I advise you to dip in for the first 2 episodes, and if you like it, I don't think you probably won't go back if you're not going to watch it again, like you did, Justin, after 5.
Yeah, I have to say, like, some embarrassment, I've not persevered with it, but I will do.
The clothes they wear as well.
I will go back to it.
It's the shittest era for clothes. Like them hats are not, you know, and beards. I don't know about beards are back in. It's just completely inappropriate era of the Victorian age.
I know what you're saying. It does put it in perspective. It's like, you know, we moan about a lot, don't we, in the workplace nowadays? I mean, we have a goodie drawer at work where it's full of sweets and chocolates and stuff. And I've seen people sending emails about how there's not any chocolates in the goodie drawer and stuff like that. And it's like,
oh my God, 2 chocolates.
Do you know what I mean? I've had 3 crunchies today because there's no Rolos left or whatever. And it's like, you know, these are guys or men and women that, you know, they lose a leg and be expected to be back in work the next day.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. But did you watch the Peterloo Massacre film?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because
Mike Lee,
did with Maxine Peake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Again, though, harrowing and depressing because it's real. And, you know, like, it was really tragic because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just, I can't, it's just the period dramas are really struggle. If I see that on a sort of premise of any series, it'll take something that, like, this has got football to actually get me in to watch it and stuff. But
Yeah.
Netflix, the acting's great. I'm not saying that just because my mates are in it. But yeah, definitely give it a shot.
No, from what I've seen, you are. I know it sounds a bit contradictory because I didn't stick with it, but I was sort of getting into several things at the same time. So I would like to give it another go. And like you say, if you're a football fan, it's letting you know where it all started.
Cool. Your goal?
Sorry, yes. Next one. I picked a film that it's an old film, not old, but it's been around for a few years. I think it's 2011. It's called Margin Call. It's a film that it's almost like a hidden gem type of film. Sort of slips under the radar a little bit when it came out. It did well critically, but it didn't make a lot of money. It wasn't those type of films that would. Part of the reason maybe because Kevin Spacey's in it, and he's, as we discussed,
the Kaiser's in it, innit?
Yeah, discussed last week. You know, can you separate the artist from the person or whatever? But it is a very good film. It's about the financial crash of 2008, and it's almost like it's set in an office completely. I think they actually filmed it in an actual office rather than a studio. It's got a bit of an ensemble cast: Kevin Spacey, Demi Moore, Stanley Tucci, Zachary Quinto. Who else? Jeremy Irons is in it. He's great in it. I loved him in it. Paul Bettany. It's a really good cast, and it's like the first company that realizes the crash is about to happen, and what they do. And it's based almost on real life. What went down at like places like Goldman Sachs when these companies realize, you know, hang on a minute, the numbers don't add up. We're on the verge of global financial meltdown.
Yeah.
How can we make money out of this, and how can we get ahead of the game? And this is what this company is trying to do. It's just set over one night, over like a 24-hour period of them realizing it, them debating what to do about it, and then carrying out the actions to sort of as their response to it. And it's really entertaining. It's just a really good film. And because you know how it ties in with real life, it is based on real life. You know, it makes sense. It's also sort of, it has those themes of greed, as you expect, capitalism, exploiting people as well, and sort of the moral point of view as well with the global financial meltdown. How a lot of these people knew what was going down, they knew what was going to happen, they knew how it was going to hurt millions of people, and they just made money out of it. They just did what they could to get out with life rafts, and it's just, I found it really fascinating. And it's like I said, it was on BBC iPlayer, but I don't think it's on there anymore. But if you've got Amazon Prime, you can watch it. If you do a bit of searching, you probably have to pick it or watch it somewhere on a stream or cheap, you know, for paid like a couple of quid or whatever. Because it's like I say, it's not a film that's just out, but it's one of those films that it's sort of well worth a watch because of the themes it's talking about, the fact that it ties in with really what happened as well, and the performances as well. It's just got a cast that are at the top of their game, and it's one of those films that you might look at and go, really? A load of people sat around boardrooms in offices, sat in front of computers. Nah, you're all right. Give me Chris Hemsworth running down the beach shooting people any day of the week. But it's I'd recommend it anyway. It's one of those where you might look at it and think, really? But I thought it was great. I thought it was a really, really good film. It's like a budget version of The Big Short. Yeah, it's like someone to say the same sort of commentary and the same points that The Big Short is making, but didn't have the resources. This is the film they make, and it's equally as entertaining. I thought it was really good. Yeah, so it's called Margin Call. It's on Amazon Prime. Go and have a look.
There's a couple of things I want to ask about. How long ago did you feel the financial crisis? Been locked down.
It's mad, isn't it? Because I mean, you know, you think about it. Everyone has massive events in their lifetime. You know, I mean, if you were born in 1930 or whatever, or 1910, sorry, you'd have had 2 world wars by the time you were 30 or 40 or whatever. So you put things in perspective, but you think about the amount of sort of massive events that have happened over the last 20 years, you know, 9/11, the global financial crisis, and now the pandemic. It almost makes those other things seem so long ago. Like you say, the financial crash now seems a lot longer than 12 years ago almost. It's like a different world. yet it wasn't that long, and you know we're still sort of dealing with the repercussions of that. So yeah, it does feel a lot longer, but it was sort of what 2008.
Yeah.
And if you look at what happened, I mean, you know, Obama basically got in because of it. I don't care what anyone says. He did. If there hadn't been that crash, I don't know if he'd got in. The Labour lost because of it, basically. Then we had austerity over here and all the rest of it. We won't get into that. We'll be here all day about that nonsense. But I know, yeah, you know, me and you both have a strong opinion on that. But yeah, no, it does feel a lot long ago, and yet it is relatively recent in terms of, you know, history.
I've seen it. I really did enjoy it. And again, it's down to whether you can stomach Kevin Spacey after the allegations. But he is really, am I right in thinking that has he got a pet in it or a cat or something like that?
He's got a dog that's dying.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And it's the one sort of bad thing about this is Kevin Spacey's the conscience of the film. He's the one that's got a conscience. Yeah, he's talking about casting against type. Yeah. He's the one who is like the moral compass of it, going, well, we shouldn't be doing this. This isn't right. And yet, off screen, again, we've discussed that, but you can make it out what you will. But it's one of those. I thought I'd mention it because I think it's one of those films that most people won't have heard of. Yeah. And I think that I tried to sort of not just go with it. I know The Last Dance was obvious, but when I was picking a couple of films for this, I tried to think films that people might have missed, and this is one of them. Yeah.
Have you got Afterlife on your list at all?
Yeah. No.
Oh, right. I'm going to dump one of mine and we'll talk about Afterlife because I know lots of people are into it and if they haven't watched it, but I just wanted to get your sort of feelings on it because I'd seen the first season and the second season is well worth a watch. I know that many people sort of ascribe to the cult that is Ricky Gervais, and rightly so. But for me, I just don't think there was that much point in doing the second season. There was some funny bits in it, but I just feel like milking the cow for more cash. Do you know what I mean? And now he's just announced that they are going to do another season. I just wanted to, while we're talking about things on Netflix and stuff like that, I just wanted to see if we could talk about Afterlife or Afterlife 2 in particular, because I thought Afterlife 1, I'm not the biggest Ricky Gervais fan, but I love The Office and a few things he'd done afterwards. Not the films he did in America because they were atrocious. But Afterlife 1, I thought was one of the best things he'd ever done, and it's because again it showed that side of humility. And he didn't hit everything with a bludgeon. Do you know what I mean? There was more sort of rounded characters, and you had real empathy with the lead character. And just from the opening scene when he's watching videos of his wife, I was nearly in tears, and it's probably the closest thing to a comedy that had done that for a long time. And then when season 2 came along, I went into it skeptic, and you can see everyone on Twitter. Twitter's the worst thing if you've not watched anything. It's like you were saying earlier on, isn't it? Because if you've not watched it, you're going to get spoilers left, right, and centre. And then when I realized the Dennis Pennis or whatever, the shrink had returned, I'm like, what are you doing, man? I just did, and it just seemed. I think the Afterlife 2 has somewhat ruined Afterlife 1 for me. Well, for me anyway. I don't think they needed to stretch it out, and I think if I'd done more damage.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, and I know this might sound quite rare because you've got two people that completely agree on this subject when the vast majority of people love Afterlife 2. But I'm with you. I thought it was all right. I thought Ricky Gervais is very good in it. I do. I thought his acting sort of was at another level. But the Paul Kayser character, the Dennis Pennis, the psychiatrist, he's completely comical and cartoonish and it's just not a real character. Psychiatrists don't do that. They just fucking don't. Yeah, the way he acts and the things he does, it's just not realistic in any way, shape, or form. And all right, there's a suspension of disbelief when you watch anything. It's not a documentary, but I just think you got to be a little bit better than that, especially when you're dealing with things like, I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit too snowflakey, but if you are going to portray someone as a psychiatrist and a mental health professional, to have him as such an outrageously cartoon character, I just think he's a bit irresponsible. I do, and he just didn't ring tune. It wasn't funny, and it's sort of like shoehorning sort of certain jokes in and getting old people to say the C word and all right, it can be funny, but I just didn't think it was. And I thought, I'm with you. I thought Afterlife 1 was okay. I thought it was decent. I think the second one has been an inferior sort of extension of it. And I'm a bit not disappointed because I don't think I've got enough of a I'm not feel got enough interest in it to be that disappointed he's doing it. But I'm not sort of excited at the prospect of Afterlife 3.
Yeah.
I think there were some funny moments in it, and when Ricky Gervais gets his comedy right, he is a master of the craft. He really is. And there was some genuine laugh out loud moments. But there was also some moments where, some episodes where I was like, what's the point? This doesn't make sense. So this isn't going anywhere. This character isn't really very funny. But yeah, it was all right. It wasn't as good as some people have made out. And actually, critically, Afterlife 2 hasn't got the reception that Afterlife 1 did. I know that by the audience and public have loved it by and large, but a lot of the critics have sort of said what you've been saying is that it's not as good as the first one, and it wasn't worth making. So yeah, it's one of them with Afterlife 3. If it's on and I'm not doing anything, I might watch it, just because I think Ricky Gervais is one of those that, again, it can be always worth watching, but it wasn't. It has been a little bit overhyped to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with that. I found it strange why the sort of this is why I refer to it as a cult, because if you were to take reviews solely off social media, you'd think it was the greatest comedy series since Fawlty Towers, wouldn't you? If you were to take that, it's true, and yet critics have panned it. I mean, I was thinking about it today, and do you not think it reverts to sort of stereotypes or brings back characters in a different guise? Because I thought The Shrink was very similar to sort of Fincher in The Office, and obviously you've got a punching bag in Gavin in The Office, and you've got another punching bag in The Office in Afterlife 2. Do you know what I mean? I think he just moved them and gone from a documentary setting that he did in The Office, knowing that worked, and then just put him in a different sort of scenario. Because Ricky Gervais as an actor is always Ricky Gervais. I mean, we were talking about this the other week, one with Danny Dyer and Ray Winston. It's very hard.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
To be anything other than Ricky Gervais.
He said that I saw him on Graham Norton once, and he said he was in a film, and the first sort of note he made in the script was he just changed the character to make him from Reading. He just said, right, straight away, he just went, right, this guy's from Reading. And the director was like, right, yeah, fine. That was it. Because he just he doesn't really do other accents or completely different characters. So yeah, I get that.
So what's that?
Yeah, it's I'm just with you on it. It's a bit underwhelming.
Yeah. All right, your next one, Jay. Justin Motty.
Yeah, Jay's all right. Oh, Justin's up to you, mate. Whatever you want, I don't mind.
Talk to you like him, your mum.
Yeah. What I've got my list in, I've just got rid of it. Next one is this is a documentary on Netflix. I'll start panning through these as well, because I'm conscious of the time. We've been chatting 45 minutes. We'll try and keep this under an hour if we can. Is White Boy. It's on Netflix. It's about White Boy Rick, who was this kid from Detroit who went to jail for being a drug dealer and was portrayed as this sort of drug kingpin who, despite only being 17, was running all the drugs trade in Detroit. And he was a bit of a patsy. He was involved in the drugs trade, but he wasn't quite the levels that everyone the sort of prosecution made out. Yeah, he's been in prison for like 35 years or something. He's had I think he went to jail in like 1985 or 86 or something like that, and he's been in prison ever since. And it's just a fascinating look at how the sort of drugs and everything in Detroit at the time, how he ended up going to prison in his life, and how he got involved in the drugs trade. His dad was a gun dealer, and he got involved through them. And also why he ended up in prison for so long, and how it was manipulated slightly. And there's a lot of intrigue in this. He was sort of friends with drug dealers. He was dating I think the mayor's niece or someone. The mayor had some sort of involvement in it. There's the guy that was in Jill Hill, who was in Beverly Hills Cop, who plays Eddie Murphy's boss in Beverly Hills Cop, was actually a police sergeant from Detroit. He got that gig because he just played himself in that film. And he was involved as well, and he was sort of involved in this cover-up for what was really going on. And basically, White Boy Rick was a fall guy for a lot of what went on, and the prosecution and the powers that be, the mayor and everyone else, didn't want him getting released. They sort of did everything they could to keep him locked up for longer than a murderer. I mean, this was a guy who went to prison when he was a kid, more or less. And he's been in prison ever since. He's due out soon. But yeah, it's just a fascinating look at how the legal system can almost be manipulated, and you end up feeling sorry for him. I know people go, as a drug dealer, you get what was coming to him, but you watch it and you think, there's no way this guy deserved to get the sentence he got. And it is quite interesting, intriguing how he ended up rising to the ranks of where he got to.
Yeah.
At a relatively young age in a predominantly black city as well. You know, this is a kid, he's a white kid who manages to become this sort of big time drug dealer, or not quite the kingpin that he's made out to be. But it's just, yeah, worth checking out. It's on Netflix. There's a film called White Boy Rick starring Matthew McConaughey as his dad, as the kid's dad, which is a decent film, but the documentary is far better. So give that a look. White Boy on Netflix.
Right, so White Boy, I'll definitely. What was that? What was White Boy available on? Was it Netflix?
It's on Netflix, I think. Yeah. So if you've got Netflix, give it a look. I think it's a feature-length documentary. It's not a series.
All right. Next one that I'm going to talk about. I only actually started watching last 2 days ago, called Russian Doll. Have you seen Russian Doll yet?
No, I've not heard of it, to be honest with you.
And neither have I, and which is surprising because it's written by some of the writers from Saturday Night Live. And basically the premise, again, when I've read the premise of it, I thought, I'm not too sure I'm going to like that. It's pretty much this woman keeps getting killed on the same night on a birthday and is in this continuous loop. Is it ringing any bells to any Bill Murray film? Because it should do, because it's very similar to, of course, the classic that is Groundhog Day. But it's miles away in terms of the dialogue, or obviously it's in the current time. But it's hilarious. It's so funny. It's just I imagine it should get pitched as Groundhog Day for the millennials. But it like the lead character Nadia. She's a Jew that's not she's anything but Jewish. She smoked every drug under the planet, and she takes a drag of this, is what's called an Israeli joint. And I'd never heard of this one. An Israeli joint is apparently a spliff that's laced with cocaine. I'd never heard. I don't know how true that is. That's called something different in Longsight.
I was going to say that I've never had an Israeli joint until you described it.
I'm trying to keep my BBC gig. So she thinks it's the drug anyway, and then obviously she keeps going through the loop, and then through one instance she doesn't have the drug, and then she thinks it's something else, and then she realizes that there are other people that are actually stuck in the loop with her that are also being killed by various ways, and they're trying to work out why they're stuck in this sort of time loop. Honestly, it's hilarious. It's really, really good. I was so surprised that I'd enjoy it. I banged like 7 episodes after each other. That's on Netflix, Russian Dolls, and testament to how good it's been. It's been commissioned for a second series already, and I think it's only just been out a few weeks. Russian Dolls.
I'll check that out, because I'm not a big Saturday Night Live fan, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But you know your comedy, and me, you have a similar view and opinion on comedy as well, and that sounds quite interesting, actually. Yeah, because I think obviously it's similar to Groundhog Day, but it's very different from what you describe it as.
What's quite good, Justin, is Jay, is that that's going to do my head in trying to refer to you from 500 million different things. Is that Nadia is our age, so she's making lots of references to the 90s. There's quite a vulgar reference to a TLC song when she's about to have sex with someone. I'm not going to ruin it, but there's a lot of in jokes and stuff like that if you're sort of like 90s kids. So
I love all that. I love it. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's Russian Dolls.
Russian Dolls, yeah.
Right, check that out. Good stuff. And what's that on? Sorry, mate. I know you said it. I've forgotten. Sorry.
Netflix.
Right, we're gonna crack on. We've got like 5 minutes before we need to wrap up. So my final one. Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just counting to 5. I need to use my fingers.
I'm sure you read subtitles.
Yeah. Someone reads them for me. My 4-year-old. Right. Last one is just a quick one. And it's just a series it's on. I think it's on Sky Arts, Discovering Film. I've got into this recently. All they do is, for an hour, it's hour-long episodes, they just talk about an actor and actress and their career. They have clips of all the films. They talk about their career, from start to finish. And it's just loads of different actors featuring it. And it's one of those, it's quite good if you're into your films, which I am. It's quite good to sort of have a look at the careers of maybe actors and actresses usually it's from sort of the 70s and 80s that you perhaps didn't know as much about. The last one I watched was like Peter O'Toole. There was one on Warren Beatty, Carol Lombard. If you like I say, if you do like cinema, especially classic cinema, then it's a good sort of way of looking at different films and getting introduced to films that you may not have heard of or may not have seen before from like the 50s and 60s and 70s. If you, like I say, if you are a bit of a film fan, and I've been getting into this, been watching quite a lot of them. They're on every day. I think there's about 2 or 3 episodes on it every day, and just good. You have all different critics talking about them, talk about the career of the subject actor or actress, different film clips. They talk about the private lives as well, but not in a tabloidy way, just in an honest way of how the lives panned out. And like I say, it references all the films they're in and the successful films or the not successful films they're in. And it's just a good way of finding out a little bit more about actors or actresses you either love or you don't know a lot about, and films that you might love or, again, might not know about. And there's loads of films that I want to see, classic films, if you will, that I've never seen before or are on my list, my never-ending list. So discovering film, Sky Arts does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, I mean, is it like the Actors Studio? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was where they sat down, didn't they? Went through it. It's like that without the.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that. Yeah, they have loads of film clips, and it's sort of like I say, doesn't matter if it's someone like Charlie Chaplin, they'll have the clips from his films, or they'll do more recent actors. They tend to be sort of stars of like yesteryear rather than
golden age.
Yeah, rather than someone who's completely contemporary. But no, it's a series I've been getting into and I've enjoyed it. And I think any film fan will do.
Cool. I'm going to throw a curveball in that actually isn't a film, but it was something that I've been watching on YouTube. I'm a geek, very similar like you. Like I like listening to the backstories of either actors or how they've got into stuff. So the last one I'm going to talk about is the Wire auditions. Have you seen them on YouTube?
I have. I have, because I'll let you explain, but
I don't, and there's actually spoilers because I didn't realize how many different actors had actually read for how many different sort of roles. I think the only person who didn't do a
audition screen test.
Who didn't do an audition for his part was Omar. I think they knew as soon as they'd seen him with that he got it. But there was others, and I'm not like, it's just I don't want to spoil it, but it's well worth a watch. The Wire auditions, again, probably one of the best shows of all time. We should do a show on The Wire and Gomorrah just for an hour, just talking.
I could, me, how much I love The Wire, and I love that as well. I've seen some of them, and I know, like you say, it's fascinating how some people who read for like Marlowe ended up getting a part for Forever, or read for Avon became, and also as well, I don't know if this is in it, but some of the cameos are interesting because like the real life Omar is like he's
actually in The Wire, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's like, I think he's one of the church guys, which is just like completely opposite to what he was in real life. But I was amazed that he was still alive. He's like, this guy used to go around robbing drug dealers for a living, and has lived to sell the tale. But no, that sounds great, and that you can end up down a right rabbit hole, can't you, on YouTube watching things like that.
I've had a row this week while I've been watching it. Why what you doing, watching different parts of The Wire. But
it's research though for this. So
I'm going to clip that, and every time I get bollocked, I'm like, it is me. Who's Justin? It's Jason. This has been Scotty and Motty for another episode. We hope you will watch some of the top 10 and please feedback. Thank you for everybody that has got in touch after watching the first 2 videos and given the feedback. It's been really, really good. I was quite the positive one of the subscribers in the first couple of days.
Yeah, listen, we're just starting out, and it's, we're doing this because we wanted to do it. We get on well with mates and we thought it'd be a laugh. But it's nice to know that some people are watching. Otherwise, there's no point in recording it. We may as well just do it without recording. So it's good to see that people.
Anyway, won't we?
Sorry, say that again, mate.
We'd do it anyway, won't we, mate?
Yeah, we would, but it's nice to see that people watching, positive feedback as well. So we are going to try and do as many as we can. Scotty did the smoking shed, which is hilarious. If you've not checked that out on Mick Hucknall's mini meltdown on Twitter, I've been busy Googling flamenco gypsies ever since. So we do appreciate that, and get involved in the comments and likes and shares and all that stuff. If you're not subscribing, please do give a subscribe. So thanks for that. Should be down there somewhere. What's next, Scott? Are we going to do another podcast?
Yeah, I'll do another podcast some point next week. Who knows? We're going to try and keep it quite topical, aren't we, with what's going on in the world? We should probably talk about is what this coronavirus. Have you heard about that's going round?
The what?
Where exactly? And
coronavirus. You can't just be making words up. Come on.
It does sound like something out of a 90s B fucking movie, doesn't it? The coronavirus.
Have you seen, just as quickly before we go, have you seen Contagion?
No.
Right.
I think I tried to watch it a while. I'm not. There's a few. Do you ever get We can cut this, can't we? If we go over. But I just have an actor if they're in a film and they could be the greatest actor, but I just can't watch them.
Keira Knightley for me.
Yeah, same. And there's loads like that. I'm a bit of a prick. I'll be honest. If it's period drama and it's got Keira Knightley, and I'm not fucking going.
That, yeah.
No, I'm not.
Contagion. It's the real thing about Contagion is it's almost like a documentary of what's going on now, and it's a film like that was made 3 years ago or 10 years ago, and it's about a pandemic. And the pandemic starts with a bat. It's unreal, honestly. If you can stomach it, because obviously we've got enough of pandemics going on in real life. Yeah. Then Contagion's worth watching. Steve Soderbergh made it. He's always good stuff. So
I do like Soderbergh. The West Wing, wasn't it? Did he do the West Wing?
No, that's Aaron Sorkin. Steve Soderbergh did. He did Ocean's 11, but he's done better films than that. He did Erin Brockovich. He did Traffic. Sex Lies Videotape. He's done loads. Go check him out. He's one of the most prolific directors around.
Cool.
Well then, on that bombshell, this has been Scotty and Motty. I'll do the outro. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe. We'll see you soon.